Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Foreign Currencies with Scott. So, today is the first official video of our new year 2026. We are right smack dab in the middle of our $1,000 challenge for the year that started on July 1. So, if you're new here, we started with $2,000, and our goal was in 1 year to make 50% on that $2,000, bringing us to $3,000, and that's our $1,000 challenge. So, today we're going to take a look at where we are at the midway point. So, we had several criteria and methods of things we said we wanted to do. And if you've been watching regularly, you know that October and November were a little bit challenging months for us. In October, we experienced greed. In November, we experienced fear. But overall, we're back on track. We made our watch phrase for December, neither greed nor fear. That worked out for us very well in December. So we're going to carry that thought on and stick with discipline. Discipline in the new year, neither greed nor fear, just discipline to the method. Now, I do a lot of reading and watching other people's channels, and occasionally I think, wow, that's a really good thought. I should include that in my channel. And lately I was reading a book where they were talking about some of the winningest coaches in college athletics, most notably men's basketball and men's football. And what these coaches were saying is they do not focus on the result. They do not focus on did we win that game. But in coaching the young men, what they want to focus on is the discipline, the method, and just sticking to the plan, and then things will come out as they come out. And in fact, if you think about it, if you take a race where two people are running, the winner, the one who came in first, the one that everyone declares the winner, maybe it wasn't even a personal best for them to win the race that day. But the person in second place beat their personal best by a second. So really the second place person won within their own program. They can't control what other people do, how good other runners are, or what kind of day they're having, but they can control through discipline and practice and sticking to their methods. How well am I doing? So they beat their own personal best, and they should walk away from that proud, even though they did not win the race. So we're going to take these thoughts forward into 2026, and we're going to really focus on sticking with our discipline, exuding neither greed nor fear, and seeing what we can accomplish in the second half of this year-long challenge. Now, before we move on to that, I want to look at some numbers from the first 6 months and see how well did we do in this particular area, and can we improve on that, or do we need to stick with that just the way it is? How did we do? And we'll do that in the accompaniment to this on-camera segment of the video by showing you some graphs next and talking about it. So it's Sunday evening. We're about ready to go into the first full week of January 2026. Hopefully, like me, you have set up your Friday close of New York lines and you're ready for London Open on Monday morning to see how it goes, to see if there's a trade and see what we do. Okay? We'll be back on Wednesday evening to talk about Monday's trade potential and Tuesdays and Wednesdays as well. And we will see you then. Until then, good trading, everyone. All right, so before we do our 6-month performance review, I thought I would take a look at Thursday night, New Year's night, going into Friday's trade. So if I roll the chart to the left here, we'll see all this blankness was New Year's Day where everybody took a holiday, and Scott was wrong for the second time. So after that second holiday, now we're back on track, and the markets opened on January 2nd in Asia, and I brought the vertical bar forward to when they opened so we wouldn't have to have them back 24 hours. But the horizontal line in the middle is where New York closed on New Year's Eve, and then 30 pips above and 30 pips below are indicated. You might see that dim line in between the New York close and the 30 pips below. That's the current price as I'm making this video, and we can just ignore that for the moment. So we did take advantage of something we'd been talking about recently with the Friday market, and it did work out for us with a positive winning trade. So we can see that as the market opened on January 2nd, that green candle down at the left on the vertical bar meant that the market gapped much lower when it opened after it had closed on New Year's Eve in New York. But despite that, it gapped again, going back up to that New York close mark. And then, as you can see, as we went through the evening, it went about halfway to the 30 pips up, then crossed back down. And let's see where we were at 3 a.m. because that's when London opens. So at 3 a.m., we were right here. I'll just mark this. So if the New York close was, as we can read on the upper left there, 134.735, we can see that at 3 a.m. we opened at the little box on the right, 134.643. So that is just, what is that, 9 pips. So it was 9 pips below New York close, not even close to being 30 away. So we had no trade at the London Open. However, what you'll see is you'll see one fairly smooth movement, trend, if you will, down. And we did go down below that 30 pips below New York close at this time right here. And that was 6:10 Eastern time. So the London market had been open about 3 hours then, and we did go 30 pips below, and we made it in one trend move. And what I mean by saying one trend move is we didn't go below and then back above and then below and, you know, uh, create a lot of ups and downs and highs and lows. We just kind of went down in one trend and went 30 pips below. So at that point, that's where New York is not yet open. So we're going to look for a low point again at which we could buy back in and hope that the market will go back up towards the New York close. So technically, this could have been this very next period here, which you will see 6:15 because it's a green candle. It did go up uh, and then end the period more than 30 pips away from the New York close as it's below that horizontal line. But that's not really forming much of a low. That's just a brand new low in the 5 minutes before it. And we'd like to see a little bit more than that. So what we do see a little bit more than that going into 6:30. And so we do want to get back in though before the market goes back over the 30 pips below. So that would be a green candle, and that would be not that one, but this one. So we've kind of established a low there. We have a green candle, a red candle, and now back a candle in the direction we want. We close out below the 30 pips below. So this is a good entry point. So now this is just standard as to what we would do. We would put in a trade to buy here to go back up to the New York close. And we would look for a stop loss of 20 pips. So 20 pips below would be 20 pips below this open right here. The open was at 40.0. So it would be at 20.0. So let's just go ahead and draw that line. See, that's even 30. So we don't have to get it exactly. Okay, right there. So you can see our stop loss is down there, that new horizontal line. We would have to get that low to be stopped out. So not only did we not challenge that, we didn't even really challenge our low of the day, which was set back here at 625. So we had a buy trade, we got in there, and you can see that it took a little while, but the pair did move up and it did cross this line again, which was the New York close. So we got out with a winner at 30 pips, and we had a winner for the day, even though we didn't get in right at the London Open. We got in about 3 hours and 15 minutes later, 3 hours and 30 minutes later. So this is just a slight alteration to our primary method. And we had been watching this. It had been doing very well lately. So we decided to give it a try on Friday, and it was successful. Well, hi again, everyone. I decided to come back on camera because after I finished talking about the Thursday and Friday trade potential for the end of the week and started reviewing the 6 months, I realized the chart was just stuck there and you were left staring at it while I'm talking about all sorts of things. So I thought it would be a little bit better to do the 6-month review in front of the camera. So if you're new here, the $1,000 challenge started on July 1. So that means that the end of December was the end of 6 months, or halfway. The $1,000 challenge is that we started with a principal of 2,000 and we were hoping to make 50% on that money in a single year, 50%. So that means that the goal for the end of 6 months would have been $2,500. So where are we at? So unfortunately, we're not quite there. In fact, we're quite a ways off. We're $2,341. So 341 over our original 2,000 is not bad, but it is not the 2,500. So we're going to look at some of the different goals we had in mind and see why that might be the case. Now, first of all, the 6 months, each of the 6 months, we had positive income. So I think the thinnest month of the 6 was October. No, it was November. November, when we were experiencing fear, too fearful to make a trade. So we didn't make very many trades, but we still came away with 0.6% winnings for that month. So we'll take that. We've had other months that were as high as 4 or 5%. We'll certainly take that. So that means that at the end of 6 months, we were up over 17%. So that 17% is how we got to 2341 while starting at 2000. So 17% in 6 months is still quite good, and we're quite happy with that. Now, we got there through 32 completed trades. Of those 32 completed trades, 16 were winners and 16 were losers. So we were 16 and 16. If you recall, this is exactly what our goal was. Our goal was we want to be right half the time and we want to be wrong half the time. It's not that we want to, but we expect to be wrong half of the time. So we hit that exactly, hit the nail right on the head, 16 and 16. And yet we made 17% on our money. How did we do that? We did that through that stop loss, which is when we lose $48, and our take profit of $72. So when we lose 48, we win 72, we win 16 times, we lose 16 times, and we're up $341. So very good. So why only 341 and why not the 500 goal that we were shooting for? Well, the other thing that we said when we started was that there are 5 trading days every week. And we did not expect to see positions available to trade all 5 of those days each week. In fact, we said we'll probably only see about 2 per week or about 8 per month. And in those 2 trades per week, we expected to get one right and one wrong. That's how we would even, out our win-loss record. But unfortunately, we didn't even get close to having 2 trades per week. In fact, as I check my sheet here, over 6 months, we should have 48 trades if that were going to be the case. So we would have 2 per week, 8 per month. Over 6 months, that's 48 trades. So if we'd made 48 trades, we would have hoped to have been 24 and 24. But as you notice, we were only 16 and 16. So we only made 32 of 48 trades. So that is something that is completely out of our control. Nothing we can do. If it doesn't meet the criteria for entering a trade, we don't force it. We just have to wait for those conditions. But I think everyone would still be happy with making 17% in 6 months. And we'll see how the next we'll see how the next 6 months goes and see if we can keep up and repeat that 17% again and get us up to 34%. Or maybe the positions start becoming more frequent and we can make more trades, which we'd be very happy about. Okay, so a mixed review, but a good review, and I think a very positive thing that we were able to make 17% on our money in the first 6 months. And if you're like me, you're looking forward to the next 6 months. All right. Okay. So as I said in the previous video here in front of the camera, get your Sunday night trades set up, get those horizontal lines and vertical lines of the Friday close of New York, and get ready for the London Open on Monday the 5th. All right, we'll see you again on Wednesday night. Bye-bye, everyone.